So I'm currently in Michigan, and we in the middle of a snowstorm. I just happen to see this video on my feed. Honestly, I just be reacting to whatever I see on my feed because I ain't got no clout and people don't tell me to react to nothing. But I also just react to videos that I be about to watch anyways. Let's get into it. See, this new forecast just got worse. Let's see what you're talking about.
It's Thursday, January 22nd, 2026, and we've got
Well, it's
potentially the
2023
biggest
now.
winter
Well,
storm
2026, but it's the 23rd as of midnight.
in over a decade on the way. So let's get right into talking about that.
I didn't know it was
Starting off
cold
with our
like that.
winter storms outlook here for Friday into Saturday. This is going to be where everything starts. It's really going to start blowing up over here from Oklahoma City down to Dallas. You can see we've got an enhanced risk of significant winter weather out here right in the Red River Valley. Places like Lawton, Plano, Ada, and the Choctaw Nation area of southeast Oklahoma is included in this. It's not just there that's going to get hit by ice and snow. It's here where we think this most significant impacts will be specifically tomorrow.
I didn't know. Well, I don't want to say I didn't know Texas didn't get snow, but I figured like having a snowstorm. I didn't think like they would have that. That's kind of great.
Of course, this
That's
is
new
going
to
to
me.
expand and move east as we go
Well, it
forward,
ain't
but we're
snowing
going
in
to take
Houston.
this one day at a time. Okay, so let's take a look at the European model. We're going to take a look at a couple different ones during this video, but you guys know I like the Euro. I like how it's been handling the storm. This is what it could look like out there Saturday, January 24th at 4 a.m. We are going to see a significant area of icing here in that enhanced risk area. And notice how I said Saturday. The outlook time period covers 24 hours from 7 a.m. Friday to 7 a.m. Saturday. So here we are at 4 a.m. That's still in that day two
I'm finna be
outlook.
stuck in the
theoretically, and
house.
that's why this area has been highlighted in the enhanced risk. We're going to be seeing heavy snow, potentially moderate to heavy snow from Oklahoma City all the way over to Tulsa, up to Wichita, Kansas. But watch how fast everything just blows up. This storm very quickly
It's getting a
goes
little
from
too close
being
to
a
Michigan.
pipsqueak little blip on the radar to a massive storm of the likes I haven't seen in a very, very long time. This is now a Saturday at 7 p.m. So we're moving into that day 3 outlook, but you can see very clearly here that we're still going to be seeing ice and snow in Oklahoma and Texas and Kansas at this time, even though the heaviest precipitation has moved east. So precipitation really starts late tomorrow afternoon and evening, and it picks up significantly over here during the early morning hours on Saturday. And I think we're going to see the most intense impacts, I guess, in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Dallas, for example, probably after that 7 a.m. time period, especially 10 a.m. to maybe 5 p.m. And then things are going to increase in
they call
intensity
it
again
closing
on
school out there.
Saturday night into Sunday morning. So it's really kind of like a 1-2 punch over here on the western side of this thing, where it starts off pretty intense, but the most intense part of the storm might actually not happen until late Saturday into Sunday. And that takes us into our day 3 winter storms outlook, where we have a huge moderate risk of significant winter weather impacts. I want to be very clear that this is likely going to get expanded up to the north a little bit when the next version of this comes out. The reason the southern side of the storm is highlighted so significantly is because of the ice. Snow is bad, and snow can cause a lot of problems on the roads, but ice at the level that we're expecting it, in the places where we are expecting it, is unprecedented. So that's obviously going to take precedent on an outlook like this. We've got a moderate risk from Dallas, Oklahoma City, Little Rock, Memphis, all the way over to Nashville, up to Louisville, Kentucky on Saturday from 7 a.m. all the way to Sunday at 7 a.m. And then we've also got a little moderate risk over here around Washington, D.C., down to Richmond. And this one's mostly going to be for snow. That first big punch of snow that comes in is going to be really intense over here, and that
DC
might
so
lead
little, I
to
can't
some
even see
pretty
where it's
bad
at.
conditions on the roads. So Saturday morning
I couldn't
between
even see
7
where
and 10
DC
a.m., that's
was.
when you're going to start to see precipitation breaking out in Memphis. It's going to start off as snow and then quickly change over to sleet and freezing rain. And I do believe that it is on Saturday where we will have a pretty devastating icing setup take place from Dallas all the way up through Arkansas into Memphis and Nashville. This corridor right here has the potential to see several hours of training freezing rain, and we're going to go over ice totals here in a moment, but it really looks like it's going to be a serious situation unfolding for a lot of people here. And up north of that, that's where we're going to have the heaviest snow. It looks like St. Louis could see a lot of moderate to heavy snow for an extended period of time here. Indianapolis, you guys are in the running for a decent amount of snow, but especially Louisville, Kentucky, Cincinnati. I think that you guys are going to be a shoe-in for some significant snow on Saturday as well. Now, as we go into Sunday, you can see that other area of significant icing setting up where we have cold air damming taking place east of the Appalachian Mountains, and this is going to be our secondary area where I think we're going to have more than a half inch of ice in a large zone, and it's going to lead to a lot of power outages. But notice what happens north of that. Heavy snow in the mid-Atlantic. We're talking about a really intense push of moderate to heavy snow in the Washington, D.C. area early in the morning on Sunday, moving up into New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York City. It does look like there could be a little bit of a warm nose, especially in D.C. So from Richmond up to Washington, D.C., this is going to start off as really heavy snow, but it's possible that that transitions over to sleet and a period of freezing rain and then goes back to snow. But as of right now, it looks like Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, maybe even New York City, especially up there towards Connecticut and Rhode Island and Massachusetts and upstate New York. This is going to be all snow for the duration of the event. And if that's the case, if this current run of the European model here is correct, this is going to be a really big-time storm for Boston, one of the bigger ones we've seen in a while for Connecticut, northern New Jersey. That's definitely going to be quite the storm over there. And that's why we have such a large 15 to 30% probability for significant winter weather over here in the Northeast from Sunday into Monday. If there was a higher level than that, for example, if there was a 50% probability area, that would definitely be lighting up right in here, but there isn't. There's just two levels here. We're basing this off of the Storm Prediction Center's probability for days 4 through 8, so we're trying to mirror that logic, but still, you can see very clearly who's going to get hit on Sunday into Monday. All right, so let's very quickly go through this again. There's your cold rain starting in Dallas, snow in Oklahoma City, 7 a.m. Saturday. What happens next? Boom, heavy icing going on in Nashville by 7 p.m. on Saturday. All snow, heavy snow in Cincinnati, Louisville, and Lexington, Kentucky by 1 a.m. on Sunday. Columbus, Ohio gets in on the heaviest snow, potentially around 7 a.m. on Sunday. We're getting hit very hard in Washington, D.C. and New York City by 1 p.m. on Sunday. And then this thing is going to be hitting New England like crazy with that coastal low at 1 a.m. on Monday. And then this thing gets out of our hair by the evening on Monday. So we're done with this after that. And that's the Euro. Let's go ahead and take a look at the GFS. So the latest run of the GFS is very similar, but somewhat different. You can already see a big difference, probably, if you're paying attention here. What's this big yellow blob? Well, that's sleet. The European model, and pretty much every other suite of models, is very much favoring a more freezing rain type event, but for whatever reason, the GFS family of models is suggesting that we're going to have a lot more sleet than freezing rain. Now, 6 inches or more of sleet, which, by the way, is some of the numbers that we're getting out of this model, is problematic, and that's going to cause a ton of problems on the roads. I mean, it would be pretty bad, but it's not quite as bad as an inch of ice. So we're rooting for the sleet, but I do think that based off of everything that I have seen, looking at a warm layer of air that's going to be above the shallow layer of cold air at the surface, I think that there's going to be a little bit more freezing rain than what's being shown here on the GFS. So another big difference that you're probably noticing here is that there's a little bit of a more southern aspect to the GFS. It's a little colder, it's a little bit more south with the heaviest snow and the placement of the ice.
I know a lot of people move, especially like from out of Michigan, to get away from stuff like that, but they can hit with the biggest part of the storm or the worst part of the storm. I mean,
doubt that the National Weather Service and a lot of other official
it's just cold out here. It's snowing.
Kind of leaning towards that. We are definitely taking into account all models here, so keep that in mind. We're still seeing some discrepancy, but we are getting closer to having everything be in agreement. But check this out. 4 p.m. on Sunday, January 25th, we have a very intense storm going on, dropping heavy snow from Little Rock all the way up to Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Columbus, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, New York City. We're all getting in on heavy snow here. And then, of course, we have a sleet storm and a half and a freezing rainstorm happening from Georgia, South Carolina, up into North Carolina and Virginia. And this one actually keeps not only New York City, but all of Long Island in the all-snow situation all the way through Monday. So the GFS likely puts down a lot more snow and the Euro, but we're not going to look at that. We are going to look at the national blend of models. So let's let's talk about snow totals. This is what everybody's been waiting for. We're going to talk about this first and then ice. This is going to be pretty close to what you actually get. All right, we're getting close enough to where there's still some model discrepancy, but we're getting there. We're getting there. I think that by the end of this storm in Oklahoma City, it's very reasonable that there are many of you that will measure more than 11 inches of snow. 12 inches in Woodward, 13 inches in Wichita, maybe even close to a foot of snow up there towards Joplin. And then Bentonville, you've been in the sweet spot this whole time. I don't know how you've managed it between every swing, north and south. Bentonville, I feel like I've been talking about you guys getting a foot of snow. But the farther south we go, we get a little bit less. We're talking about 3 to 6 inches in Wichita Falls. We're talking about maybe 2 inches of snow in Dallas, and that is going to be covered in a bunch of sleet and freezing rain, and it's not going to feel like 2 inches of snow, unfortunately. Little Rock, similar story. You're in that transition zone. It's going to be mostly sleet, and it's going to be mostly freezing rain, but there at some point might be 4 inches of snow on the ground. Just north of that, though, in Jonesboro, we're talking about 7 inches. How about you in St. Louis? Also 7 inches of snow is possible. Could be a little bit more than that, could be a little bit less. I'm seeing a bullseye area from Evansville, Indiana to Lexington, Kentucky up to Cincinnati. I think that this is definitely a place where we will see widespread totals over 10 inches. A foot of snow is possible here and there, especially up there towards Dayton, Columbus, and Wheeling. But unfortunately, your friendly weather dude down here in eastern Kentucky is probably going to be in a similar situation as Dallas and all these other places that are in that transition zone where we have a lot of sleet and freezing rain mixing in, cutting in on our snow totals. Maybe 4 inches of snow here in Pinecliff, maybe 5 inches down there in Somerset. How about you in Knoxville? I don't think that you guys should be looking forward to much snow at all. I think that if anybody's going to see mostly rain out of this, it's going to be y'all. Same thing in Chattanooga. There will be some snow, there will be some ice, but you guys are going to get warm-nosed like crazy. Nashville, totals are even lower now, according to the NBM. But remember, the last couple of model runs that we just looked at from the Euro and the GFS shifted south a little bit. And the interesting thing about the NBM, the National Blend of Models, is it's a little lagged behind because it's not ingested the most recent model runs yet. I'm trying my best to hold on to hope for you guys in central or middle Tennessee, but I do want you to be prepared for the very real possibility that we see less snow in Nashville. Still looking like maybe 5 inches in Clarksville, maybe 8 in Bowling Green, maybe 3 in Memphis. All right, let's keep moving east. Richmond, you're right on that transition line. Unfortunately, it looks like maybe 3 to 6 inches of snow, but there will be some sleet and freezing rain mixing in. Washington, Philadelphia, New York City, Boston. This is where it gets really interesting, and this is where it's going to be
20 inches of
kind of
snow
tell the fine details. We're farthest away from this. So this is starting tomorrow in Oklahoma, but it'll be a little bit longer than that before it happens over here on the East Coast. So there's more time for changes to happen. But right now, this looks like one of the more incredible snowstorms that we've had in the I-95 corridor for a while. The NBM is showing 15 inches in Washington and Baltimore. Trenton, New Jersey, Philadelphia, 19 inches, 20 inches in New York City. My gut is telling me that this is probably overdone. It's not accounting for all the warm air that we just saw in some of the model runs. But hey, this is the National Blend of Models. This is theoretically a conservative forecast. Scranton 17, Boston 22. I think it's safe to say that there will be a large corridor of 12 to 18 inches of snow over here, but I do want to caution you. It could nudge just enough inland to where Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, and Baltimore get less. But as of right now, it looks like you're definitely in the running for a significant amount of snow. Okay, so if you're anywhere in any of the pink shaded areas, you need to be prepared for power outages and dangerous travel. But specifically, if you are in some of the darker shaded areas, that's where you need to be really concerned about some big time impacts. I'm talking about northeast Louisiana up into south central or southern middle Tennessee and a lot of Mississippi. This is where it's very likely that we see over 3/4 of an inch of ice. If this is correct, this will be the worst ice storm this area has seen since 1994. And if you live down here, you remember 1994, it was bad. This could be worse because not only do we have a crippling amount of ice coming down, the temperatures that come in behind it are going to be unrelenting. We're talking about temperatures near zero or an extended period of time. And if we lose power, if we lose heat, we've got all this ice and it stays below freezing for a significant period of time, which is possible. We're talking about a big bad problem down here. And even back here towards Dallas, we're looking at maybe over 1/3 of an inch of ice. That's going to cause problems on the roads. Not going to cause as much problems, but it will cause problems. And I actually think that the NBM model here is underdoing the total ice in this corridor. I would not be surprised if a couple areas got 1 inch of total ice accumulation, which is something that normally would surprise me. Just to be clear, that's
didn't
not
know it get
normal,
below zero in
and this is
Mississippi.
going
I
to be a
didn't know.
devastating storm. So
Genuinely didn't
please make sure you're prepared. Make sure you've got gas in the generator. Make sure you are prepared for potentially more than 5 days without power. And I do think that school closings will persist into next week. Obviously, travel you're going to want to avoid down here. Just take this seriously. It's going to be bad up north where it snows as far as the roads go, but this is where the headlines will be from this storm. Now, another area that we've been talking about being concerned with is over here from Georgia, South Carolina into North Carolina and Virginia. I also think that the NBM is underdoing totals over here. There will be a few areas that get well over a 1/2 inch of ice, maybe up to 3/4 of an inch of ice, especially in the higher elevations and maybe even in the valleys where we had that cold air damming happening. Even though we're going to have a warmer area of air aloft moving over this zone, which will be bringing rain to areas west of the Appalachian Mountains. That's only going to intensify the conditions that are there for freezing rain east of the Appalachian Mountains because we have so much cold air dammed up over here. It's just going to be an unfortunate situation. So I know that Texas and North Carolina have already declared states of emergencies. This is another area where if you're not prepared now, it's almost too late. You should definitely take preparations to be without power for at least 5 days. Not everybody's going to be without power for 5 days. Not saying that, but you could be one of them that is. So start preparing now. And after this historic ice storm and snowstorm is over, we're not actually going to be able to forget about it because it's going to leave some incredibly cold temperatures in its wake. We're going to be well below average everywhere east of the Rocky Mountains for a significant period of time after this storm goes by. And this actually sets the stage for more winter storms. So I don't want to get too deep into it. This will be for a future video, but there's already really good signals for more storms with snow and ice on the East Coast involving potentially the South, Mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley, and Northeast after this one. So we are going to be locked into a pretty significant and unfortunate winter pattern for the foreseeable future here. So
This might be a dumb question, but I never knew like the weather conditions in Montana and Idaho. I believe it snows in Seattle. I don't know, but it seemed like it would be more warmer, well, down here and stuff. But I never knew it was like I never looked at Seattle like a hot state. I don't know if that's what this is saying, or I don't know.
Sure you like this
That's
video
crazy,
and
if it is.
you turn notifications on because we're going to have
Especially, like,
lots more
Down here, like I don't expect it to snow in Miami.
updates as we go
shit like that.
forward, and I will
I
see
don't know if
you
that's what that
in the
is.
next one. Goodbye.
Now that video was cool to watch. It's in the middle of the snowstorm. I just thought I'd react to something. I know it's different. It's probably the most different video I ever reacted to on this video. On this channel. But I just thought I'd do something different. I don't know. I'm just in here reacting or whatever. But if you enjoyed that, y'all go subscribe to him, like, comment, subscribe to Ryan Hall. You feel me? Shout out to him.